So I'm here with Louise Duffy, who tells me we are the right side of the Meath-Dublin border here, just on the border. We've sort of Francis Casey's up this way, we've Conor Maxwell up this way, so we're in good racing country, but we're in very, very good company on the equine front, because we're with dual Gold Cup winner Boum Photo, otherwise known as Boum. How did you get hold of this lad? I think you thought it was like a bit of a prank call initially or something.
Well, I basically got a text a little bit out of the blue from Jackie Mullins to say that it was potentially him going to be rehomed or going to be retired. Nothing had been released to the public at that point, but that basically, if I wanted him, I could see about having him. So yeah, I did turn off my phone and turn it back on again because I was fairly surprised and very shocked to have even been considered. So that was kind of how it started. How
did Jackie know you? Because we hear a lot about Jackie's, the effort she puts into rehoming these horses. Yeah.
So I was very lucky. I've had two others from Closutton, one of which is right over there, Arvika Legionnaire. Yeah. So I've had him for over 10 years now. So he's 20 now and he's still going strong. But I was very lucky to get him when he retired in 2014. And then prior to that, I had a horse called Assessed. So I got him in 2004 or 5, in and around about that. So yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long time, but very lucky to have had the opportunity to have them.
There is a bit of matchmaking involved as well, so why was it like Boum Photo will be suited to Louise?
I don't know, you probably have to ask Jackie a little bit about that as well. But no, I suppose we're quite active, they do quite a lot. Arvika, he did Dublin twice, he did the showing class in Dublin twice, and then he went eventing and he evented for 5 or 6 seasons. And he loved it. He thrived on it. And he did performance classes and working hunter. So they're out and they're active and they're busy. Assessed was a little bit the same, and I think it was felt that maybe having an active retirement would suit him. He was only 10.
Yeah, 10, he was
when
young,
he retired. Yeah. So and there's so much for them now. They're kind of accepted everywhere in terms of life after racing and competition and stuff like that. So
what was the initial impression when you first met him then?
There was just something about him. You just look at him, because it was actually, I saw Mellon and Live Love Laugh as well at the same time, at the same time.
Mellon retired at the same time, or
he did, yes. Yeah, they had the retirement party together. Yeah. And there was just something about him, as I sort of said, if you'd lined the three of them up and you told me nothing about them, he would have been the one that I would have chosen. There was just something about him, and for me, it's kind of that something. It was a bit like Arvika. I loved him as a racehorse, but he, even though when I got him, we only saw him walking in hand, but there was just something about him that kind of, you're kind of drawn to him.
How is he taken to eventing?
Yeah, he loves it. He only did his first season last year, and I think he only did 6 events, 5 or 6 events. The dressage he kind of struggles with. It's not that he isn't able to do it or isn't good enough to do it. It's just slower, and he actually kind of struggles nearly when he's on his own. So when he's in a dressage arena on his own, he's like, oh my God, where are my friends? And he just kind of goes into he can get a little bit introverted and a little bit kind of in himself. So we've just been working on getting his confidence on his own, working away on his own, and even just kind of figuring out different warm-up routines and different things that work for him. So kind of keeping them short and sweet, letting him do loads of walking, and then when you actually do pick up the rein and let him work, he will just keep it short and sweet, and actually that kind of settles his head. But it's kind of the reactiveness that probably makes him a little bit trickier on the flat. It absolutely comes to the fore when he's going cross country. You can feel him read the fences, and you can feel him kind of set himself up, and he's totally focused and laser focused on what he's doing. So, and that's kind of improved as the season went on last year. So yeah, hopefully we'll get it this year again.
How much fun is he giving you?
A lot. He can be a character, he can be a monkey. He can be a spooky and a bit of a cheeky monkey at times. But he's so much in there, and he doesn't kind of realise nearly how much he has. So it's fun. It's been fun kind of figuring him out and figuring out what works for him, and the actual work is not the problem, it's just getting him into the right headspace. But like I said, that's been the fun bit, working that out and figuring that out.
Yeah, just watching him back today, Santini kind of trying to chase him down off the Cheltenham Hill. What a racehorse he was like, and you know, he's not only what he achieved at Cheltenham, the Gold Cups, but he was a bit of a win machine as well, ultra reliable pretty much, and yeah, what a racehorse ultimately.
But that's it. That's it. And I think sometimes like you don't want to take what made them a racehorse away from them, because then I think you lose a lot of what the horse is. So that's kind of how I've always tried to. It takes longer and there's a lot more ups and downs along the way. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, you actually have a horse that what made them good as a racehorse, you then have to your benefit as a sport horse, because you haven't taken it away, you haven't taken it out of their heads. And
you were talking as well about him returning, was it Fairyhouse lately, and the memory that horses have. Yeah, he had that in his head.
Oh yeah, they don't forget. Like they don't forget. He was doing some of the Trewella parades he did the Curragh and Navan and Fairyhouse this year, and definitely in Fairyhouse I had him in hand, and on the way out to the track he kind of, after we walked past that a couple of times, he was kind of going,
yeah,
that's the way I go now, that's the way I go. And then when we walked past it, he got a bit like squealy and bucky and until we came around again and he was kind of going, that's where I go now. And yeah.
And how important is rehoming for you as well, Louise?
Hugely important, yeah. It's hugely important.
Something that needs to be sold in terms of like the message of the beauty of how horses are looked after in Ireland as well.
It is, yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of bad press recently. I mean, even up to last week, there has been a lot of bad press, and I mean, it's everybody's ideas, and I think everybody has the same aim. It's just how it all comes together. It is hugely important, and I think probably the bad press stories are probably overshadowing a lot of the good that is actually happening. I mean, it's something that it's going to take work, and it's going to take time, and it's going to take tweaking and figuring out what actually is the best way to go about it. I mean, like Trewella are great. There's so many initiatives now, like even training clinics, and Randox have come on board for sponsoring the training clinics and things like that. And giving great initiatives to get them out from a competition perspective to kind of show their value and their use, as sport horses. But it is hugely important. And I mean, it's not even, we've been lucky to have had the ones that were good on the track, but we've had, we've a little mare was the opposite end of the success scale.
Yeah.
And we've had her for 16, 17 years now, and through her foals, she's given us as much fun.
Beautiful.
She's given us as much fun, and that's her job. She wasn't very good as a racehorse, and if you were to have put her as a riding horse, you would have said that she maybe wasn't very good at it. But as a broodmare, she was phenomenal. As a broodmare, she was absolutely phenomenal. Her foals, she did exceptionally well. And she was just, like, you could have had the Grand National running around outside her door. And once she had a foal with her, she was 100%.